Hi Liam, it's Vanessa here from Crystal Clear Coaching, Crystal Clear Retreats. How are you today?
I'm okay, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really good. I'm really good. So you've agreed really kindly to come on and talk to me about mental health, as I've been doing this research recently on men and mental health. So someone like you is just ideal to have a chat with because I know you've got your own journey
Yep.
with that. So I just wanted to ask you a few questions for everybody, and I'm
Yep.
just really hoping that somebody might get something from
No, definitely, definitely.
this.
Yeah, people need to talk. So, lead by example. Show people it's nothing to be ashamed of, really. So,
Absolutely. So do you want to tell me or tell whoever's listening, a little bit about you, Liam, and your journey with mental health?
well, I'm Liam. I'm a 31-year-old father of one, um, and it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. But my story. We'll not go into the nitty gritty of the roots of it, but it was something that happened in childhood, um, which was never dealt with, and to this day, it's still not dealt with to a degree. But I'm on the way to dealing with it. I'm starting to discuss what happened with people close to me, my doctors, and things like that. And that was a big step for me, because obviously it was it was something that was hard to come to terms with, and accept that it wasn't my fault what happened. Um, it can be difficult, but at the same time, I think if you don't face whatever your main stresses are, then they can lead to more aggressive issues with yourself. I really started to notice my mental health deteriorate, um, in my early teens, I would say. Um, I was about 15, and I moved away from home, went to live with my dad, who I'd never really met. Um, and I'd been living with my dad for a year or so. We had a bit of a bumpy relationship, and I started having dreams that weren't the norm. Um, so I went and spoke to the doctors. They sent me for a mental health assessment. Didn't diagnose me with anything but depression, and just said it was a strained relationship with my father, and put me on antidepressants. As I'm sure plenty of people that are watching this have experienced themselves, have themselves been put on antidepressants, and they do work. You just have to give them a chance to work. If you are depressed, a lot of people think, oh, it is just depression. A lot of people will just believe what doctors say, as in, oh, we think you're just depressed. We'll try you on this medication. We'll try you on this antidepressant, and so on. So I ended up. I was always in a low mood, but I also used to have a lot of anger outbursts, just very out of the blue. Never violent to anyone in particular, but more violent towards myself. Um, and I started to work in mental health when I was about 19, when these started to appear. And I started to, obviously, because I was working with mental health, I saw my traits in other people. And I thought to myself, oh, I'm 19, bloody hell, I'm not mental. I can't, I haven't got mental health problems. These people that I'm working with are poorly. I'm not poorly. I stopped all my medication, stopped everything. Worst mistake I've ever done. I was young, naive, um, and obviously there's this stigma attached to it that mental health is something to be ashamed of, and if you've got any sort of mental health problem, you're crazy, you're crackers. The minute you mention mental health, people think you're, you know, ready to be in a lunatic asylum, and that's simply not the bloody case. You know, it's not the case at all. You know, so I had a struggle with my mental health. I came off the medication. A couple of years I was off the medication. My moods were up and down. I was erratic. I dabbled in drugs until I finally moved to Lincolnshire, and I had a bit of a breakdown. I wrote a note to my partner saying, you know, that's it. I just can't take it anymore. I told her I was going to hang myself. I didn't, evidently. I'm still here, thank God, if there is one, or whoever you believe in. And my partner, who also suffers from mental health, which is a bit of a blessing because she knew what to do, she made up the excuse that she needed to go to the doctors to pick up her prescription. Went in, left me in the car, and went and spoke to my GP about me. Yes. Took me to A&E. Now I know a lot of people, and I've heard a lot of bad experiences that people suffering from mental health have had when they've arrived at A&E. But there is help there. You just need to be adamant, and you need to ask for the right people. If you're in a mental health crisis, you need to tell people you're in a mental health crisis, and you need to ask for the mental health teams at A&E. It isn't just for broken arms and, you know, broken legs. It's there for your mental well-being as well as anything else. So they took me to A&E. I met a fantastic mental health liaison team who spent a couple of hours with me, talking to me, you know, just discussing things with me. And I ended up going to what's called a crisis house for 7 days, which was a blessing in disguise. It wasn't run by the NHS. I can't remember the name of the charity, but they have a few dotted around the country, and it was that over an inpatient stay. And inpatient stays are not beneficial for everyone. So I chose the crisis house, and it was like a little breakaway. You know, it just took me away from life, what was happening, gave me a bit of breathing space, taught me a few techniques to cope. I got enrolled on emotional first aid, which I would recommend to people. Definitely do not knock it. Also, recently I'm going to be attending something called a recovery college, which I've just got information about, which should be interesting. It's free, and I'm also going to take my mum along because my mum doesn't understand mental health as much as I would like, or as much as she would like, because of her upbringing. It was just get on with it sort of stuff. So this is open to the public as well. So I'm going to bring my mum along, and hopefully she can learn and help me and my partner or whoever, you know, can recognise, you know, problems. Yeah, I've been diagnosed with, it used to be called, well, I think there's two sort of, it's BPD, borderline personality disorder, but I've also been told I've got EU BPD. So some doctors
tell us what that stands for, Liam.
Emotionally unstable borderline personality disorder.
Okay.
Now, because I got diagnosed with that, they tried me on, rather than my antidepressants, they put me on mood stabilizers. So now that's the medication I'm on at the minute. I'm trialing and errors with them at the moment. That's where I am with that at the minute. But since I've been on the mood stabilizers, it has helped. It's helped more than the antidepressants, but I did have to push for that. I had to ask for that. So my advice to anyone especially if you've been on antidepressants for a long time and you still feel like they're not working, is just ask your GP, or if you've got any input from any mental health services, if you could speak to a psychiatrist, because that was all I did, was ask to speak to a psychiatrist so I could get a proper, review. Because your GP, they're as fantastic as they are, and as hard working as they are, they're an encyclopedia of everything, but they're not just for one particular thing.
Yeah.
You need to see the specialists, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a brief little ramble about my journey so far. I'm still on it, and I'll be on it for a long time. It's going to be a rocky journey, but I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it. I'm hoping to start CBT, and that'll be the next milestone. But when I start the CBT, if I start the CBT, I'm hoping to do updates around that, so other people can see how I benefit from it, and hopefully that maybe they could benefit from it too.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that, Liam. Just your honesty as well about kind of how things were for you, in childhood, and
yes, honesty is the biggest part of conquering it. Ultimately.
Yeah. No, thanks so much for that. And there was a lot of messages in there. One of them, a couple that really stuck out for me was, one which is like to keep going, to keep pursuing, with the GP, to go back, if it's not right what you think you're being given, what the diagnosis that you've been given, to go back and get it out. And
ask questions. Do not be scared to ask questions. Don't look to give yourself a label, because I do think some people can fall into the trap. They look to give themselves, they say, well, I am displaying this. Don't turn yourself into Dr. Google and go to the GP and say, look, I am bipolar, because that's not necessarily the case at all. Just go to your GP and request to see a professional in mental health, and just make sure if you don't feel the treatment you're getting is working for you, just try and carry on pushing. Definitely. Don't be afraid to push.
You mentioned as well, when you were sort of 19 and that you came off everything because you were working in a unit, and there were people there who had had serious mental health issues, so you kind of made this decision that you weren't like them, and you said it was the worst mistake of your life. But I think as well there's something in that, because what I've been finding is a lot of people who filled in my questionnaires, a lot of men who have said that one of the things that they've struggled with is that they feel embarrassed or weak for having these problems. So is there anything you could say to people who feel like that?
Well, mostly is it isn't anything to be embarrassed about. If you put yourself in a room of 100 people, you look around that room, I guarantee you 60% at least of them people have suffered at some point or are suffering from a mental health issue. You're not alone. It is more common than but the reason why people are embarrassed is because people that have it are not talking about it. And that's what people need to do. People need to talk. They need to break down this wall of mental health is something to be ashamed of, when it's not. It's part of your health. If you've got chlamydia and you got all sorts of bits dripping out of places, you would go to the gum clinic, and you would sit in your group of mates and say, oh, bloody hell, I got the clap, I had to go and get it sorted. Now, that's more embarrassing than talking about bloody mental health. But people do that.
It's bizarre, isn't it? I like that example, actually. And you know, what kind of comes to mind as well is that if you think you're the only one struggling with these particular issues, it's a really lonely place to be.
It is, yeah.
So, you know, it's really important for people to speak out. Like you say, you know, 60% of people in a room could be suffering with mental health problems and not talking about it. Each of those people is going to be feeling really lonely.
Exactly. They could have the biggest smile on their face, but deep down inside, you know, they could be really anxious. They could be in that room terrified because they're crowded by people. You know, they could be just wanting to go home. They could just be, you know, they could feel like they've been dragged out by their mates. They don't really want to socialise, but being dragged out by your friends is a good thing. Because when your friends are telling you to come out, usually that's a good sign. That's them saying, look, we're noticing some things up.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But there's definitely nothing to be ashamed about or embarrassed about. No, not at all. People need to just talk.
Yeah.
It's difficult. It is. There's no denying, you know. But once it starts, it's like a floodgate. You know, talking in itself is a great therapy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So on that note, what's helped you the most? Because you say, you know, talking's a great therapy. What do you think's really helped you?
Talking has helped me a lot. Talking to my family has helped. Also, I can't deny me having a child has helped me immensely. I know that it's not an option for everybody, and it's not something everybody wants, but for me personally, that has been a help, because that's been a little bundle of joy that's got me something else to focus on, you know. And yes, they can be absolute little terrors at times, but they've got such beautiful smiles, and that you know, that's an instant warm, bubbly feeling inside. You know, that's helped me a lot. To be honest, my change of medications has helped me. That has helped me. I would say regarding medications is, if you feel like a medication isn't working for you, don't be scared to tell your doctors either, and don't be scared to ask them if there is alternatives. Like my mood stabilizer, for instance, puts weight on. It's renowned for it. So I'm asking my doctor and psychiatrist at the minute if there's an alternative. So we'll see how that goes, because obviously I don't want to put on loads of weight. I'm already a big bone boy, so you know, I don't want to get any more big boned. So, but don't be scared to talk about your mental health. But I'd also say is, don't be quick to dismiss other people's mental health either. I think that's a massive thing. Is as much as some people cry out for support, not, you know, people sometimes are very reluctant to give it as well. You know, so if there's anybody that's watching this that you know, can think to themselves, so, you know, do I ever cut my friend off when they're talking? Do I ever try and change the conversation if they're talking about something that's doom and gloom? You know, have you got a friend that's always talking about negative things? You know, that they can be cues for people, you know, to pick up on. And you know, I think there needs to be a lot of that as well.
So not only kind of being willing to speak about it for yourself, but also be willing to accept it.
To accept it and talk to people. Exactly. But number one is, do not be embarrassed. You know, everybody has got something wrong with them, mental or physical. You know, we're more willing to talk about the physical stuff, you know, and all the itty gritty bits than we are the mental health, and that needs to change. You know, it's just as important, if not more so. You know, mental health can kill, does kill.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we know there's kind of a lot of stuff out at the moment about the statistics and, you know, it being the biggest killer amongst men at the moment under the age of 45.
Yeah.
It's just such a shame, you know. So, you know, if there's anybody listening to this, you know, and, you know, who knows? I mean, that you might be the person who can really kind of make that change today, and maybe just go and ask somebody for some help, or, you know, just go and approach your doctor and just tell them, yeah, I am really struggling, or, you know, let a friend know, let a family member know, because it's okay, you know. Is, you know, that's the message I'm hearing from you, Liam.
It is okay. It's normal.
Absolutely.
It's normal.
Yeah.
You know, there is no other way to put it. It is normal, and that's the way people need to start to think. You know, it is normal, whatever normal may be. But as a whole, as a society needs to see it, it is normal. Just like getting gout is normal. Just like getting the flu is normal. You know.
Yeah. And going back to what you said about at the beginning, I think, you know, society at the moment is so high pressured. There's so many different triggers, and
it's insane. Yes, it really is. I think society, work lives, you know, just society as a whole, money, you know, is obviously a massive thing for millions of people. You know, I think the modern world is, it's just the pace of it. It's just too much. There's too much going on.
Yeah.
You know, for some people, you know, there's just too much going on.
Yeah, and a lot of expectations as well, in terms of, you know, job roles,
exactly,
roles, as you say, financial roles, all those kind of things. And I think, you know, that what happens is we just cave in. You know, as human beings, it just all becomes too much, and you know, it's like having like you said, it's like having a broken leg. You know, we get a bit of a broken mind. You know, and you know, it's So yeah, no, thank you for that, Liam. You know, really great message. You know, thank you for your honesty, and yeah, I'll be. You know, this will be in a few areas where people can kind of get to hear, you know, about your, you know, what you had to say today.
The more people that can, you know, hopefully hear my story or bits of my story, if you can decipher it, I am aware that I do ramble a bit, but I do hope that people can see amongst my rambling some help, and can hopefully they can see that, oh, there's a big bold bloody bearded guy there, and he's talking about his mental health problems. You know, yeah, you know, maybe I should actually open up. You know, do it, talk about it.
Absolutely, and that's a great note to finish on.
Yeah,
okay, thank you so much, Liam.
No, you're more than welcome, Vanessa. I'll speak.